How's everybody doing today? It is Thursday, December 3rd, out here in New York City. This is Reverend Beckford of Life Organization. I'm going to be talking about a few things. I'm talking about Donald Trump, talking about Minister Darrell Scott out of Cleveland, Ohio, talk about this so-called terrorist mess that happened in San Bernardino, and a couple other things going on, especially the daily news. All right, and a lot of injustices that's going on out there. All right. So let's start this off with Trump. Okay. Now, the other day, Donald Trump decided that he wanted to call on 100 ministers. Let me get it clear: 100 black ministers, and he decided that that right there would give him the black vote because he himself, after his meeting, and it actually wasn't 100 ministers, it was about 20 to 35 of them. But we're gonna get into their cause of why they did it. But you're looking at him wanting to get the black vote. So he figures, let me reach out to these ministers who have mega churches or who want mega churches or who have influence over certain um, markets, per se, because he's doing this as in a business angle. He doesn't care about Black Lives Mattering. He doesn't care about what's really going on in these communities. He's just looking at this in as a business strategy, and it's a pie graph. How can I get black votes? So let me reach out to these influential black ministers because black people will go to church and they'll listen to their ministers. So if the ministers say vote for me, or if the ministers endorse me, then I have their vote. Okay. Now that's for blind sheep. Okay. We're gonna put it like that's for blind sheep and conniving wolves in sheep clothing. Okay, because Hezekiah Walker himself said that if it's listed as an endorsement, he's not going to the meeting. He said he would like to. As anybody else, we're open to hear what somebody has to say. Give them a chance. Okay, we give people a chance. But if you're looking for an endorsement, this is not a political game. God and faith is not a political game for you to gain on by manipulating and using strategies on the people who you have been condemning. The Black Lives Movement has been about black liberation and black freedom, and for people to see that they cannot at any time say all lives matter if they are not proclaiming that black lives matter as well. Now, doesn't that make sense? Now, this is where we come in with Darrell Scott. Okay. Minister Darrell Scott, out of all the ministers that were there, notice hardly any of them showed their face. But Darrell Scott got on there with his nice fresh cut and lineup. You see, I haven't gotten mine as of yet, because I'm out here making sure that I provide for the community more than I provide for myself, because that's the way that you're supposed to be as a servant of God, as a messenger of God. Serving the people and making sure that the people gain what they need to gain. But we're gonna get to that point. But you see, Minister Darrell Scott out of Cleveland, Ohio, he decides that he wants to use his influence to try to put a message out there saying that, yes, it's the liberal media. Hold on. I know plenty of y'all have not heard your pastors ever do that before. But hold on. I'm a different type of pastor, okay? Anytime you hear any type of political jargon in any type of defensive, I would say defensive, defensive type of conversation, in front of the media, in regards to a politic and a minister, and that minister is the one that is using the political jargon, then you know that there is a gain for that minister as well too. So basically, Minister Darrell Scott has been bought and paid for. Now, there are false prophets out there leading the children of God astray. There are false prophets out there who are gaining more from the communities than they are giving to the communities. Because I want everybody to find everybody that is a parishioner, that is a member of Minister Darrel Scott's church in Cleveland, Ohio, and I want y'all to ask them, how many of y'all are struggling to pay your light bill? How many of y'all are struggling to pay your mortgage? How many of y'all are struggling to get who just struggled to get food for Thanksgiving? How many of y'all are going to struggle to provide, food, clothing, gifts for your family when it comes to Christmas? How many of y'all are on public assistance and are in need, not a want, but are in need, dire need for a lot of things to be done to help your family? And then I want you to look at Darrel Scott. Look at the type of car he drives. Look at the house he lives in. Look at the clothing. Look at the price of the clothing that he buys. Because being a pastor, being a minister, being a reverend does not make us have any favor in gaining material things, because we are to provide for the people. We are to provide for the masses. We are to live life. Being Christian means the way of Christ. Being Christian or being of any type of denomination means the way of life. God is the way of life. Okay? And when we get into the whole aspect of religion, where we're actually split amongst man's own rules and regulations and their biasness, we do not live that way of life. We are easily bought. We condone and we endorse people who do not care about our culture or our communities or our people. Donald Trump has made racist marks in regards to Hispanics and Latinos. He has made racist marks in regards to blacks. He has made racist marks in regards to Muslims. He has condoned violence against Hispanics, Latinos, blacks, and Muslims. At one of his own campaign rallies, he told his people who were there to support him, get him out of here, when there was a peaceful Black Lives Matter protester holding up a sign, not saying a word, and they beat him, they kicked him, they spat on him, and they dragged him like he was a worthless dog. And then you got Donald Trump talking about that he wants to do mass deportations of immigrants and those who are children of immigrants. If that's the case, then Donald Trump and his wife and his kids are to be first in line, because Donald Trump, his father was an immigrant. Matter of fact, his father gained his riches. Wait for it. Gained his riches from prostitution rings, stealing land, and many other criminal activities that form the definition of a terrorist. He's a domestic terrorist. And that's the long line that Donald Trump comes from, and that's what he's trying to hide right now by trying to put the blame on everybody else. Now, forget Donald Trump, not forget him, but put Donald Trump and put Darrel Scott to the side right now. We're going to get to San Bernardino. My prayers and condolences out to all the family members, all the victims of San Bernardino. Greatly my prayers are with you. The members of Life Organization, send their prayers out to you as well too, and so forth. What I need the media to stop doing, what I need these racist and bigot people to stop doing, what I need Daily News, Fox News, and CNN to stop doing is categorizing the whole Muslim community for the few extremists out there. But here it is. There is not even a guarantee or even a solidified fact that the two individuals who were married that went and shot up that location in San Bernardino were even Muslim extremists. Your last name does not dictate who you are. It doesn't. It does not. Okay? And they're like, oh, because he went to Saudi Arabia in 2013. That has nothing to do with anything. How many politicians have gone to Saudi Arabia in 2013? Okay. Now, I'm not condoning what he did. or his wife did. I'm not making an excuse for it. But what I plainly see, because common sense seems to not be too common, even though it's free. Okay, what I am not seeing is people using their minds instead of being led by the media that has an agenda, because the media is being controlled by typical agenda oriented organizations, corporations, and politicians to fit into their needs of putting fear to the American people, to buy us fear, having fear, and dependent on people. Instead of dependent on God, dependent on our faith, dependent on each other, and so forth like that, for protection and for and for unity. You know, they painted this already as possible terrorist activity. This man, from witness accounts, this man was inside of a work it was his work excuse me, it was his work holiday party, got into an argument with the co-worker, left said holiday party, went home, got his wife, they dropped off their 6 months child, went back into the area, maxed up, geared up, gun, and loaded to the T, and murdered people. What did that co-worker and this man argue about? Nobody's provided those facts. Everybody has went past the fact of that this man was in an argument at this party before he came back and started to massacre these people at this party. That is not terrorism based on being a Muslim or Islamic faith. That is terrorism based on being a disgruntled employee who has a problem with his fellow employee. So how about, instead of we use these incidences and use the deaths of the deaths of these people to push these agendas of trying to violate our actual rights to bear arms, how about we use this to say, how can we now make a way to have disputes not get to this point without playing off of the fear, without playing off of the deaths of these innocent lives, and using them for selfish agendas? What we need to see is, how can we make it, okay, so that people are allowed to be safe within their own communities and homes? Now, people are not always going to be 100% safe, but how can we make it like this? Now, if we have to minimize the number of firearms you're allowed to have, I agree to that. Taking away our rights for firearms, I do not agree to that, because this is the same reason why we would gain rights for firearms, was because the government that we had back then, certain foreign parties that we were affiliated with and that turned on us back then, started coming and killing the people and oppressing the people. And look what happened. If we didn't have the right to bear arms, the Black Panthers and a lot of these black organizations would not have been able to protect the black community from a lot of the racist and fascist organizations that were out there to destroy and eradicate the black, Hispanic, and Muslim race from way back then. Okay? We have to use common sense, people. Common sense. All right? And I talked a little bit about Daily News, but I'm going to talk about them a little more, because I just saw this headline where it says, God cannot fix this. This is what they put on there about the San Bernardino massacre. How can you one day say, pray for Paris, but yet the next day say, God cannot fix this? So Daily News, Fox News, CNN, all your with your so-called oh man, I laugh at every time I see this, with your so-called experts, that you bring onto your shows and have, who has sections, in front page sections and mid page sections in your periodicals and so like that. How about you stop? How about you stop that? Okay, just stop lying to the people. Stop trying to twist a story. Stop trying to play off of the fear just to make ratings, just to make sales. It is not right. It is not right. Because what I'm noticing though is that you're not looking at the fact of, and we're gonna take the San Bernardino incident and we're gonna put it into other incidents, like the killings that's going on, the black community, within certain states, like Chicago, here in New York, somewhere like that, But then you notice that they will use all of these, for an agenda. They'll use the black on black crime to dignify their call of saying Black Lives Matter is wrong. But yet you don't hear them say anything about the white supremacist movement being wrong. Okay, but let's move on. Okay, which just case any of you that work for these organizations, like Daily News, CNN, and Fox News, and the owners of it, and those who follow it as if it's their life. Black Lives Matter movement, if you really look at it, it's not only black people in the movement. It's just but what it is. It's a revamped civil rights movement, because evidently our civil rights, which were granted, are not being respected and not being honored, since a lot of people are being gunned down. But if you notice that we are hand in hand with whites, hand in hand with Muslims, hand in hand with Latinos and Hispanics, with Aboriginals, with the indigenous people of the land, the natives. So come on, let's be real about this. Okay, God can fix this. Faith can fix this. We can fix this. It's about us getting up and actually doing something. For example, if you see that there's a rally out there calling for all people to unite, calling for your community to come together and unite against the killings in the community, against the wrongful killings, by certain corrupt individuals in law enforcement and so forth like that. How about you stand up and fight instead of sitting there and complaining, or sitting there and being an Uncle Tom to the fact? Okay? Because not all police officers are bad. But if you stay quiet on the corruption that's going on in your force, if you stay quiet about the corruption that your brother and sister in blue are doing, you are just as guilty. Now, I understand a lot of the police officers out there, they have spoken out against it and they have been silenced. Some of them have been demoted. They have been, ridiculed and tortured within their own precincts. They've been sent into dangerous assignments to purposely be killed. Okay? Now, the system is not broken because it's working just fine for itself, but it is corrupt. Okay? It is corrupt. And the same way, all the organizations out there that are fighting for justice, here's what I need y'all to do. I need y'all to team up together. Okay? Don't care if you're with Justice League. I don't care if you're with Black Lives Matter. I don't care what organization you are a part of. You are to come together. And we have the same agenda. So don't be like, I'm not going to support their rally because it's not my rally. No, come out in strength. Because know what? At one point in time, Martin and Malcolm came together. Freedom fighters came together. Civil rights movements came together. And that may change. And that's the problem. This is why we don't have change. This is why now this day and age is like Birmingham back in the 1950s and 60s. To why there's a new era and a new way of slavery for people who are not privileged. And I'm going to talk to y'all in my next video about slavery, privilege, and the tier systems that many people fall into. But let's just get this straight in our minds, people. Let's unite. Okay, let's unite. There's nothing wrong with uniting. Uniting is free. Common sense is free. Justice costs, and it costs lives. Many people have died for us to have rights and justice these days. Many people are still dying. Okay, so I'm not gonna take up your time much longer. But like I said, Donald Trump bad. Darrell Scott suspect. Daily News, CNN, Fox News put on notice. You're being held accountable for all your stories because you're wrong for what you're doing. You're wrong for the agenda. You know, all these Republicans are wrong for the agenda. You know, Ted Cruz, get out of here. Bush, we don't need another one of you in office. Oh, Trump, just go somewhere with yourself. Fire yourself. That's what you need to do. Fire yourself. Dr. Ben Carson, just because you're black doesn't mean that you get the black vote. I just want to let you know that right now. We're gonna talk about you in another time. Like I said, this is Reverend Beckford with Life Organization, one of the realest, preachers, reverends, ministers, whatever you want to call me, that's out there right now. I am an advocate. I am a mentor. I'm an activist. You know, you can follow me on Twitter and on you can follow me on Twitter. You can also follow me on Instagram at Rev Beckford, Beckford. On Facebook is facebook.com/ Reverend Beckford, or you can put Rev Beckford, or just type in Reverend Beckford on the Facebook search. Life Organization is for Instagram and for Twitter. It's at Life Org, but life is spelled with two E's. L-I-F-E-E. And it stands for love, integrity, family, empowerment, and equality. Okay. Um, and on Facebook, Life Organization is facebook.com/Life Organization. All right, we got a couple of thank you to everybody that showed up to help out with the past Project Hunger No More. Thank you to the celebs who have been tweeting the hashtag Project Hunger No More to all the people out there around the world that's been tweeting out the hashtag Project Hunger No More. We're I'm working to eradicate poverty. Um, I'm working to decrease the gap between between the classes, so that way we have no more high class and low class, where they took out completely the middle class to where everybody's on the same standard. A lot of countries have done it, and I'm working to do that as well too. For the United States and for other countries, for all our communities to unite all people, and so forth like that. Um, Grand Central Shut It Down crew, shout out to y'all. Blessings to y'all, prayer for y'all. Loving the movement that you're doing. Um, Man, to the Garner family, to the Rice family, to the Bland family, to the Scott family, to the Gray family. There's so many, to the Romero family. Prayers and condolences to y'all, man. We got to make a change, people. We got to make a change. We're gonna make a change. Like Sam Cooke said, a change is gonna come. Okay, so hope you all enjoy your day. Look out for my next video. Subscribe. There's days where you see me, I'm preaching a scripture, and there's days you don't see me come off with the realness like I am now. Also, if you want to, if you do want to, get some prayer, you can actually email me, or you could contact me on Twitter or Facebook, so like that. But you email me at reverendbeckford@gmail.com. If you want to be a volunteer or a mentor, you want to know about what projects we have coming up, what rallies we have coming up, because we're fighting against a lot of corrupt systems. We're fighting against corrupt systems, a CPS, the forced adoptions, child trafficking, child abuse, corrupt family court, personnel. We're fighting against, corrupt law enforcement officials. We're not fighting against law enforcement. We're fighting against the corrupt law enforcement officials, corrupt politicians. We're shutting it all down. We're going to make the system recalibrate. So we're going to bring a new reform to this because too many people are suffering, too many people are dying, too many lives are being lost, too many people are being traumatized. Okay, but if you want to, know about our rallies, if you want to know. If you want to volunteer for the next projects we have coming up, you could contact the organization at Life, L-I-F-E-E, organization at gmail.com. If you want to put any donations in because you can't make it out to the rallies or you can't make it out to any of our projects, because we got a lot of projects that are providing cleaning up the communities, after school programs for the kids, mentorship for the kids and adults, counseling for the kids and adults, providing, helping them out, with the holidays, with bills, for those who are struggling in poverty, housing, clothing, food, the homeless, stuff like that. You could donate. We're also providing scholarships, to a lot of children that are either going to charter school or going to boarding schools or they're going to college and so forth like that. You can go to our GoFundMe, which is gofundme.com/life, L-I-F-E-E, org. Okay, so it's Reverend Beckford. I've taken up enough of your time. Love, peace, happiness, blessings. Let's just use our common sense, people, and let's stop the hate. Let's stop the racism. Let's unite. Let's show the system that we can unite instead of letting them separate us. Okay? And again, this has been another edition of Real Talk with Reverend Beckford. Love you all.